Can you tell me why you first were performing abortions?
I graduated from medical school in 1976 in upstate New York, and if you asked me at the time how I felt about the abortion issue, I wouldn't have hesitated for a minute to tell you that I was pro-choice. This was a choice between a doctor, that female patient, and no one, including the baby's father, really had anything to say about it. You know, some people identify themselves as pro-life or pro-choice, but for so many people it doesn't affect their lives directly. But when you're an obstetrician gynecologist and you say you're pro-choice, it becomes a very personal decision. You have to decide whether you're going to actually do abortions. So along with learning how to do deliveries, hysterectomies, and everything else obstetrician gynecologists do, I learned to do abortions.
So you saw it as a part of your practice?
Absolutely.
During the time of performing abortions, did you ever have any doubts?
The first doubts that I had about doing abortions happened during my residency training. When we were doing first trimester suction D&C abortions, interestingly enough in the delivery room, and when it was my turn to do them, I would do 2, 3, 4 in the morning, never thought anything of it. And we were doing late-term abortions in the form of saline abortions at the time. Technology was different. I met my wife, and we married, and like a lot of young couples, we wanted to have children, and found out very quickly that we had an infertility problem and that she just wasn't getting pregnant. She went to the best infertility specialist in town, and it didn't look like we were going to be able to have children of our own. So after we got over that shock, we decided to adopt a child. Now, anyone who's tried to do that knows how very difficult that is. We went to county agencies, state agencies, religious agencies, anyone we could think of to find a child to adopt and care for as our own. It was during that time that we were trying to adopt a child that I had my first doubts. They were strictly selfish ones, but they were there. I remember literally, I very vividly remember being in the delivery room one day doing a suction D&C abortion and thinking, my gosh, I'm throwing this kid in the garbage, and here I am trying to adopt a baby, yet I'm throwing them away. And I'm smart enough to know it's people like me that makes adoption so difficult in the first place. So the initial doubts that I had were very selfish ones, but they were there.
What did you do when those doubts came and you were searching to overcome the infertility and find a child to adopt? What did you do to kind of put away those doubts when you were performing abortions?
Soldiered on, kept on doing my job, and at the same time tried very hard to find a baby to adopt. We literally started to advertise. I talked to every obstetrician gynecologist in town and people at the hospital and everywhere else and let them know that we were looking for a child to adopt. In August of 1978, I remember very vividly, I was working in the operating room with one of the attending physicians, and the circulating nurse tapped me on the shoulder, and when I turned around, she was holding up a little piece of paper that said, "Call Marcia as soon as you're done." Now, Marcia was the head of social services at the hospital where I was working, and she's one of the people we had talked to. That's all the note said, but I knew what it was. And sure enough, she informed me that there was a 15-year-old girl in labor in the delivery room. She had showed up at a doctor's office for the first time during her pregnancy the day before. Now she was in labor. She wants to give her baby up for adoption. Are you interested? Amazing. She told me over the phone, and I was like, well, of course I'm interested. I remember literally staring at the face of that telephone to call my wife with this news and know that I was just 7 digits away from becoming a father.
Beautiful.
And literally, by the grace of God, we were able to adopt a little girl that we named Heather in August of 1978. And my wife got pregnant the very next month. And we had 2 children. Exactly. We ended up with 2 children, a son and a daughter. They were 10 months apart. Our son Sean was born in July 1979. I will no longer do any more abortions. When you finally figure out that killing a baby that big for money is wrong, that it doesn't take you too long to figure out it doesn't matter if the baby is this big or this big or this big or maybe even this big, it's all the same. And I haven't done any since then, and I never will.